Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Bryant, talking to you about you and your business. Cool, interesting movie out there that talks about the problem of progressivism and what it's doing to our great nation. We talk about it over at usdailyreview.com. You can see an article there. It's featured this week there. I want to encourage people to check it out. Joel, welcome to the program. Tell us about yourself and the movie.
I'm a filmmaker based here in Los Angeles. I've made many films on music history, like Bob Dylan filmed, and started making political documentaries a few years ago. My last one, which most people have heard of from 2012, is called Dreams from My Real Father. This is a takeoff on Barack Obama's book, Dreams from My Father, and I make the entire life history of Obama, revealing that his real biological father was not the Kenyan Obama. It was a man named Frank Davis, who was a communist out of Chicago who raised him. That film did very well, and people are now really coming around to it who found it hard to wrap their head around. My new film that's coming out this summer in theaters, going to be opening in Denver in July, is called There's No Place Like Utopia. Now, this is a play on the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy's conclusion, there's no place like home. And what I do is I go into the whole history and reality of the progressive agenda. Follow the yellow brick road. This magical wizard will solve all your problems, whether it was Mao or Stalin or Castro. And we know from the movie, when you get to the Emerald City, the wizard turns out to be a fraud, and he sends you to the witch's castle where you end up in prison, or in history, of course, it was the Gulag or starvation. So we look at what's going on in America with the progressive agenda. I go to Detroit, Chicago, Newark, all these cities that have been under progressive control for 50, 60 years, and talking to people, we find out they have not been progressing, they've been regressing all this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, we've raised multi-generations of sheeple, people who cannot make decisions for themselves. They go with the flow. They live with this naivete that totalitarianism can't happen in America. We're too advanced for that type of foolishness to happen, and therefore we're lined up and primed up for that kind of totalitarianism.
Well, unfortunately, people bought into it for a long time. I met people who had all been seduced by these utopian promises. You know, even if you remember from the 2008 campaign, there was a lady in Florida named Peggy Joseph, and she's very famous for saying on television, Obama's going to pay for my mortgage, he's going to pay for my gas. It was somewhat comical at the time, but she's in the film too. And I met her, and she said, you know what, I was just caught up in the emotion of the moment, and once I did some reading and really looked into it, started paying attention to what Obama was really saying, she said he was just a man behind a curtain. He never intended to keep any of his promises, and he was implementing an agenda that she never voted for.
Okay, did she literally say the man behind a curtain?
Literally.
Considering your Wizard of Oz analogy, that's pretty. That was like a lob, wasn't it? Tossed to you.
Yeah. Well, the progressive agenda is to get people whipped up, whether it's about race or economic conditions, and use very simple catchphrases and slogans to get them to support them. Give me the power, and we'll make it right for you. There's some evil rich person who's preventing you from being successful. You didn't build a business. Somebody else did. You did it on the backs of the proletariat. This is the Marxist nonsense from the 1800s and early 1900s that led to the destruction of Russia and Eastern Europe, and 100 million people were killed in peacetime by progressives under this idea that we're going to create a utopia. And if you don't fit into utopia, they send you to the Gulag or starvation or the collective farms. We've seen this lesson in history over and over. Unfortunately, it looks like we're having to learn it again.
Yeah, obviously, I think that's true. When does the film come out?
It's coming out in mid-July. We're announcing the theaters very shortly in Denver. Then we'll be going to about 10 different cities, and then after that, 2,000 screens nationwide. You can see the trailer in the meantime. It's at there's no place like utopia.com, and there's some other videos and information on the film.
Yeah, I encourage people to learn more about it. I think it's a great opportunity for people to really get an understanding of what's happened to our country, what is happening to our country, and how we can't be naive and just sit back and watch it happen. I think we're in a very dangerous time. There's a lot of people who believe, and I'm becoming more and more sympathetic to the perspective. It may be too late to even change things, and to restore liberty in this country. Again, the people have become sheeple. They're naive, and they kind of bah along to whatever the totalitarians want. And really, a lot of it had to do with hubris, actually thinking that somehow America was going to be free or above that kind of disaster, and clearly we're not. And I thank you for reminding us of that, and I encourage people to learn more about the film. I certainly hope it shows up here in Houston, and let your people, have your people let me know if it is so I can promote it.
Thank you so much.
Joel Gilbert, give that website one more time before I let you go.
Please, there's no place like utopia.com.
Thanks so much. When we come back, much more for you. By the way, check out that article by Joe at usdailyreview.com. That's usdailyreview.com. Excellent article. More for you right after this on The Price of Business.
It's been getting so hard living with the things